गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
सुनिया कि तेरी गेम बड़ी स्ट्रॉन्ग पंगा लिया नहीं तू मुंडे नाल रॉन्ग मेरे उत्ते तेरा चलना नहीं टैक टैक दिल रखा विच बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट मुंडा देसी ना मैं बर्गर बॉय बंदा मार दे मैं पुछदा नहीं वाई टेलीस्कोप विच होया जेड़ा फोकस हेडशॉट ए निशाना एडा चौकस लगी आया पैराशूट ते like I'm falling out of love जीवे तेरी सोचा तो above जीवे तेरा चलना ही
गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
Oh boy, don't cry. तेरी बातों से तू लगता है हाय कर ले तू चाहे जितनी भी ट्राई तेरे जैसे कई आए I'm a queen, मेरा सीन करे बात मेरी M16 Knocked out करूँ दिल I'm so mean तू भी बचेगा नहीं कर ले यकीन तेरी गेम को मैं रूल करूँ ऐसी बातें ना फजूल करूँ बिना चिकन देना कभी हार ना कबूल करूँ कभी हार ना कबूल करूँ
तेरी अखियां दी गोलियां भी सह गया तेनू लगे कि तेरे ते मैं रह गया and you thought you knocked me out मैं तो समझ बंद करन लई बह गया एडा सौखा नहीं कुड़ीए हराना मैनू 10 साल तो मैं जानदा ज़माना मैनू मेरे लिखण दा एहो जिहा स्टाइल जिवें हत्थ विच पड़िया मैं PubG Mobile चाचा लिखां गाने राउंड जिवें खाली करा गल सीधी करा ना ख्याली करा मेरा स्वैग देसी मुंडा मैं ओरिजिनल कदी फ्लैक्स कुछ बन के ना जाली करा बैकी है पैराशूट ते like I'm falling out of love जीवे तेरी सोचा तो अब जीवे तेरा चलना नहीं वाली
अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
Game over. अभी तो फिलहाल हम मेकअप कर रहे हैं। बंद का मतलब ये कि डोंट शूट गेम मास्टर माकफुल टीम क्या खले मां का बेटा हाय बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है PubG मोबाइल के साथ कोलैबोरेट करके और अब मुझे एक और तरीका मिल गया अपने फैंस से कनेक्ट होने का पख्तून फैंस से अपनी आवाज में PubG मोबाइल खेलने का मौका मिलेगा अपना अच्छा लगेगा आप खुद सोचे तो कोई एक चीज वियर्ड नहीं है वो तो बहुत कुछ ऐसा कई दफा हुआ है कि थैंक यू वेरी मच कह के या बिल्कुल खामोशी से मैं निकल गई PubG तो मैं सोच रही हूँ जो इस वक्त मेरी टीम यहाँ पे मैं इनके साथ खेलूँ मजे कवा कीप रॉकिंग यूथ में मेरी बहुत फैन फॉलोइंग है और फैंस वाकई मुझसे बहुत ज्यादा प्यार करते हैं बहुत हार्डकोर हैं तो लेट्स गो तो अभी हम रास्ते में हैं और हम जा रहे हैं अपने स्टूडियो की तरफ वॉइस ओवर्स के लिए वॉइस पैक आने वाला है PubG मोबाइल में पश्तो में सो यस मैं बहुत एक्साइटेड माँ कवर का अल्लाह का माँ से मदद का और मुझे प्राउड इस बात है कि मैं पठान हूँ मुसलमान हूँ मैं आज जो हूँ जहाँ हूँ यकीनन मेरे कल्चर की कदर ही है जो मुझे यहाँ तक लेके आई
आप लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग कब शुरू करें
बहुत जल्द मुझे लगता है इसके बाद तो एक बनता है सेशन तो वो तो आप जल्दी देखेंगे मुझे हेलो 1 2 3 4 चेक साउंड चेक हाँ नहीं या लगा माँ सरा मदद होगा माँ खबर का हाँ देर का या लगा तो पक पकार दे ज़माफी वार या लगा ब्याह बापा यूज़े गेम का ज़्यादा बचक्रम मनना माँ खबर का देर का माँ बातें डज़ों के so thank you PubG मोबाइल आप लोगों ने मुझे मौका दिया मैं बहुत अच्छी लग रही थी बहुत सारे कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स मिले थैंक यू
FMR3D Esports. If you guys think you've heard this name before, you might have because R3D Esports, they've been in the PubG Mobile Pro League season since the beginning of it all, and this time it's a revamped lineup that's going to be here.
Season 3, Season 4, top-notch performance. This time, again, it comes down to how they adapt with the change in the roster because every time this team comes in, we see a lot of changes. Now this time when Pika comes in, how does he bring in the addition to this team? It all comes down to that.
Exactly, as you mentioned, the roster changes have been quite critical for this team in the past, but this time if they have figured out the synergy because they have some big names in the lineup now, they can make it work for them and move forward towards the finals, and then who knows, maybe to the next big stage in the leagues. But for now, we just wish R3D, FMR3D Esports good luck for their matches, and hopefully we see them on the other side. New name, Meteor Shot Sky.
Oh yeah, definitely. When I saw this team in the qualified itself, they look absolutely so bonkers in terms of their gun gameplay. But when it comes down to the addition of Khatir and Halsey, we have seen this pair especially in the past. If they address the problem that they had in the past itself, we can see this team somewhere down the line overpowering the other team itself.
Exactly, because they have the gun skills that they need to take the fight to the opposition, but the one thing that we see them falter down in is them handling the pressure that comes in the late game stages of the match. So that is something that needs to be fixed. They did have some time after their qualifier matches. Hopefully they fixed it, and we wish Meteor Shot Sky good luck for their PMPL matches.
exclusively for Pakistan. A chance to push your limits. The squads are ready to turn their dreams into reality. It's our chance to reach the biggest.
Make it into the grand finals, but for teams like X Generation, Regicide and TMW, it's not just that one chicken dinner, it's a long road. You've got to be extremely consistent to maintain or get the top 16 spot depending on which team you are, and that's where they've got to start from our very first match in Erangel. You can't have any laybacks really, I think, these teams, because I understand there's one more day to go, but I feel like more times than less we see fates being decided in day 2 itself, because if you're not able to come back in day 2, then day 3 is kind of doomed.
That is so true, of course, because again, that lead that has been lost from you, and as you try and capitalize upon it, also the other thing that's going on in your mind is the fact that, all right, 5 games are remaining, then 4, then 3, so you just start counting down, and the pressure just keeps on mounting up and up. So right now, again, with 10 games on the hand for the side of TMW as well as the other teams, this is going to be the moment for them to be able to just slowly but surely try and work towards those placement points, or they can go completely guns blazing like 52X Rage we saw yesterday. Skilled plays. TUF, I mean, they have been phenomenal in terms of the way that they have been playing throughout the entirety of the league. But again, those are the teams that are looking comfortable. This day is going to be based on what are the teams on the second page going to be bringing, what are the teams going to be allowed that are sitting on the second page, because that is going to be the most important, this day is going to be the most important for those teams. But again, let's see what exactly will be in store. One thing is for sure and certain, we do have Salt I8 right here in the lobby. We have the likes of course, Clarity. We've got Quantum. We've got Meteor Shot Sky. We've got TUF. All of these teams, they're looking really ferocious, and they're ready to pounce on whatever opponent that they're able to find.
Exactly, they're certainly looking like teams to watch out for, and it certainly seems the case where most teams out here have that capability to get that killer threat going on. But talking about that killer threat, Rise, ever since their miss on the Super Weekend in Week 1 has been North Esports. They've been on a phenomenal level so far, and now the question simply remains, will they continue this form going into the Grand Finals?
Oh yes, I definitely want to say that this is a team that you just have to wait and see, because you look at the way the team has been just systematically compared from week 1 in through to week 2 and the Super Weekend, of course, for week 2, and now into week 3 itself, their gameplay and plan has actually changed drastically, as well as they move on now into a lot more of a passive approach in terms of the fights that they've ended up taking. And many times we do see them take on some aggressive stances, but then they quickly get those elimination points and then fall back as well. So again, a very systematic approach that is being applied from the side of North Esports, and that is the reason why the team is able to sustain themselves in the positions that they have been able to do so yesterday. And yeah, I mean, I'm just keeping an eye out for the team, as I've mentioned again and again like a broken record, and I would definitely expect the exact same and even better performance in the Grand Finals.
100%. But to make it to the Grand Finals, they've got to start displaying that aggression, that consistency in these days itself. Get a chicken dinner today. I think that more or less satiates your concerns about not making it to that top 16 and allows you to play with a lot more freedom, the way we've been seeing teams like Salt I8, for example, playing more against each other for that MVP prize rather than anything else, because of course they're in a very, very comfortable spot.
Oh yeah, there's nothing stopping them. There is no team around in the vicinity that could even give a little bit of a damaging blow to the side of Salt I8. I mean, we've seen them actually get eliminated on the 16th position as well, and still they're not deterred, and still they are I mean, the way that team has been able to blow to the side of Salt, the reality of the battleground, it is so phenomenal, and so many things can be learned from the side of Salt I8 and their playstyle.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's where I think the strength of Salt I8 has very much lay in its ability to just be free while they're playing, yet be absolutely precise. And I'm excited to see how teams are able to break that down going into the finals. But let's bring our conversation back to the Super Weekend. Day 2 currently, we've got those teams struggling again. And talking about one team that has seen its ups and downs, Team Grounders. Now, one of the really outstanding teams from Super Weekend, but since then they had been on the downfall. They missed one Super Weekend altogether, and coming into week 3, it's been a roller coaster of a ride.
It definitely has, and nothing taken away from the side of the grounders that they have been in very tricky situations is what I would say, where many a times we do see them getting caught off guard, making those rotations, definitely not being on the better half or the better position or the flank of the fight, and thus just completely getting pincered down. And then there have been moments of resurgence that we've seen from them. So like you so perfectly mentioned, the ups and downs storyline from the side of the grounders is a little troublesome, but overall the team was looking a-okay. But of course, if they want to be able to solidify their position, this sort of an ups and downs gameplay that is being showcased from the side of the grounders will need to be rectified. And yeah, only these 10 games are there. Again, the side of the grounders, I do believe they are going to be able to make it. And whatever this ruckus that we're looking at in terms of their play style in week 3, maybe it's there to just confuse the teams, because if you remember in week 1, or no, I think it was week 2's league play, where this team just absolutely came up on top and showcased what they were made of.
Yeah, exactly. And that power from grounders, I think it's very much there within them. Like you said, they've just got to bring it back online, and I wish we could get to see glimpses of that today. I want the play to be the way it was yesterday, because if you look back to Super Weekend 2, it was a lot more methodical almost from teams. They were a lot more inhibited in their approach, and as compared to this Super Weekend where teams like Saltai 8 really opening up has sort of opened up the entire lobby. We're seeing a lot more shots taken at each other, a lot more of that freedom and that YOLO play, for example, that we saw from Brave 52x Rage. And that's where I think the real identity of Pakistan does truly lie. So I'm excited to see more of that happen.
Oh yes, that is going to be in store for us, definitely, as we've got 5 games that are going to be starting right about in a couple of minutes, of course, and all the teams are very well ready. And of course, we do want all the 64 players to jump into the lobby all together and bring in some massive blows and punches. And along with that, as we have been actually kind of asking for the CA, do you think today maybe one of these teams, 2 of these teams maybe might try and go for those drop locations, or do you still believe that they are going to be working towards that synergistic play?
I feel like they won't, but I really want them to. I think they really should.
Right?
And this is actually one team that I really want goes for that play, X Generation. They're on that 17th spot, right? They're 12 points away from Regicide. And to be perfectly honest, unless the map is called Miramar, Regicide hasn't really been a big threat so far. So unless the map is called Miramar, I think X Generation should just go and try to rush Regicide early, because you get the 4 points, you know. Even if you get a 3-for-3 exchange, for that matter, you can have one player playing later on. But what that ensures is that Regicide can't perform well. You're hurting your opposition while putting yourself at the possibility of snowballing off of that early fight. So that's where I think X Generation should be looking to take that chance.
And they are definitely showcasing that sort of a playstyle as well. Yesterday, I do remember on the map of Wrangle especially, I did notice for the side of X Generation where they jumped into the center of the fight itself, and they definitely took the fights all head on as well. So that is something that definitely did showcase to me that X Generation are wanting to utilize those opportunities. And we saw that again and again from the side of JD. Being out of the open, run and gun sort of situations is where we saw JD again and again along with his teammates. So yeah, there is a lot that is going to be still accepted, rather anticipated from the side of X Generation. But will the lobby be that kind for them to be able to showcase that aggressive streak that, yeah, it comes and goes when it comes to the side of X Generation actually.
Yeah, exactly. That bit of an inconsistent roller coaster sort of nature is what they really need to fix, and hey, an early chicken dinner goes a long way towards making that happen. And in that Regicide conversation continuing, right, the drop to contest, I believe, is also quite simple in the regards to the fact that X Generation is the team that likes to play aggressively. It's not really a drop that Regicide is used to contesting either, which means they will likely be surprised by such a move. But you can see X Generation through these highlights, it clearly shows they've got that mechanical skill to make things happen. I think they just need to elevate it to a certain level.
Definitely, and that X factor was being showcased right there against the players of Team Star. And not only that, I mean, this team of X Generation have taken on fights with some really big names in the lobby as well, and they have delivered. So again, when it comes down to the entirety of the playground that is being showcased from X Generation, they are definitely in control. They are not what should I say? I mean, they're not afraid, basically, right, to jump into those sort of moments, to jump into those sort of fights. Whereas on the other front, if we try and compare it to the sides of maybe, let's say, North Esports are still taking that backbencher seat. You know, they're still keeping a very close eye as to what the zone is doing, what the other teams are doing. They're sticking to the edges, and then maybe slowly pushing on along. Whereas on the other front, for X Generation, they are just completely bringing in that aggression. And so that sort of an approach we've seen always had a two-edged coin or a sword, basically. We saw 3x bring or try to bring that sort of a playstyle. It favored them in certain games, took their lead away from them in other games. So yeah, it is a very, very difficult position that the X Generations IGL is going to be in today.
Oh, most definitely. I think it's also because of the simple fact that you've got to ensure that your team is comfortable, going into day 2, because again, in a lot of ways, day 2 defines your charge for that top 16. Day 2 is when, you're going to come back in good momentum, in a good morale going into day 3, or you're just going to have another bad day and you're going to be thinking going into day 3, this is doomed. We just got 5 games left. What can we do? We've not been able to perform at all. And that's why I think today the IGL has that much more responsibility, Blotter, like you said, and really has to step up and be an in-game as well as out-of-game leader. And we'll have to see, can he make it happen? Can the team make it happen? Because I think they certainly have fans who believe in them. We know we've seen glimpses of brilliance, so we believe in them. Now the question is, can they believe in themselves?
Well, again, if their play style from yesterday is to indicate anything, it is definitely something that is going to be of a prowess, of an egoistic attitude where they're going to be taking on fights. They are jumping into those fights, and the way they actually dropped into the center of all those teams itself clearly indicated to me, at least, that wow, I mean, one side is Clarity, the other side they've got other teams. They don't care. They're out in the open. They still don't care. And we saw in the replay as well, as North Esports was making that late rotation, they caught them as well while making that rotation. So yeah, I mean, in the entire saga of things, X Generation is playing their game perfectly. But once again, I mean, you might be playing it perfectly, but you don't know where that third party is going to be coming in against you. And before you know it, the entirety of your team is going to get eliminated. And that is something that we've seen time and time again. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about that, because that's, again, just one of those stats for the battleground. And that will happen either with you or you're going to be doing it to somebody else.
The thing is though, like the way X Generation play, we've seen teams almost inhabit a better version of it through teams like TUF, for example, the way they've risen. Extremely aggressive, love taking those fights, every single player for that matter. But the way they do it, they're always in this tactical tether almost, where they're close to each other. At any point, if one of their fights goes above the brink and they get a knock, or they get knocked themselves, either the revive will come through or they can go for the slam in together as a team. And that little bit of teamwork and synchronization, I believe, is what X Generation need to a large extent. They need to find the capability to be on the same page across all the 10 matches left in this Super Weekend.
Definitely. 100%, in fact 200% is what I would agree to that, because if you really critically look at the side of X Generation, right, there are only 2 players who actually do stand up. One is Jaideep, and I think the other one is Harry, if I'm not mistaken. The 2 dudes who are the ones who are going to be able to standing true for the side of the team, to be able to take on the aggressive stance and be able to then push on against the opponent's team and get those elimination points all by themselves as well. Whereas the other teammates are there to give that cover. But yeah, I mean, you compare that to the likes of TUF or to the likes of Saltite, who are also in the same lobby. So yeah, you kind of clearly see the competition level basically in the same lobby itself. So I mean, nothing derogative about that. It's just different play styles altogether for different teams, and that is what defines them being so very classy in their approach. But yeah, as you so perfectly did mention, it is going to be so very critical for the IGL to be able to control the team in the battleground as well as outside.
And the fact also comes into play that if Regicide is not able to step up to the mark, if they keep having under the par performances, all X Generation really need is a modicum of consistency where they're just getting at least a few points per game, and you're able to gradually claw your way to Regicide. And the fact of the matter is, as long as you make it into the top 16, that's enough. You got to go to the grand finals before you start worrying about the actual grand finals themselves. And I think that's where X Generation's focus needs to be on that. But another team in that bottom mark that we're not talking about is TMW. Blotter, and to a large extent we haven't seen the possibility also from TMW. So maybe this time around we'll see it change, because now day 2 of this final Super Weekend, and we've got our first match online. Lotta, we're going to be heading to Wrangle.
Oh yes. This is going to be the first game of the day. Of course, we've got 5 games in store. And right off the bat, the teams are looking prepped, as we did see in the cameras. Now it is time for us to see what exactly is that preparation going to be bringing on day number 2, the second last day of the last Super Weekend right here at PMPL Pakistan region. A big thanks to, of course, Oppo with the F21 Pro right around the corner. These teams are definitely going to be bringing in that aggressive stance a lot more better. But right off the bat, as we do look onto the map itself and the flight path, we are looking at the northern zone. I mean, again, a very comfortable flight path for all of these teams. TMW actually making a difference this time around as they go on towards Zarki, which they have done earlier as well. That is all based on which side is the flight path going to be dictating. TUF and Clarity again going to their Giorgio and Hospital region where TUF is. A very comfortable position. Once again, nothing too far out there, nothing that was unexpected from their side. Same is going to be the case for 52X Rage as well as, of course, Team Star as once again. So what we were anticipating or hoping at least that the teams will be bringing in some X-Factor plays or YOLO approaches or whatever, that has not been showcased from the side of this Pakistani lobby. They are still sticking to their rhythm, and well, let's see if that rhythm is going to be helping out a few of these teams or not.
So the two things I was thinking about with regards to drop change was either teams go for Pachinki because there's no H to E, right? So you can see Pachinki is relatively empty, or they can test each other. Neither happening. Teams just sticking to their guns, but the PubG Mobile gods say nope. They give us an interesting circle with this flight path towards the northeastern side where all of these teams have dropped. The teams that usually go to Quarry or Primorsk even elected to stay around this area, and they have benefited from that. But it has resulted in a heavy congestion around the Farm Milta area where Vasi's already picked up first blood. We've got Regicide, Meteor X Sky, Salta 8, Grounders and Freestyle all in one small area, Blotter. And this is where I wonder how the change in plans for Solta 8 and Meteor X Sky, the Sosnovka and Novorepnoi teams coming into Farm and Milta, how does that trigger a domino effect almost?
Well, all right. This is unexpected, definitely, but this is the kind of play style that is to be predicted and somewhat anticipated as well, because it is Regicide after all, and Regicide need that sort of a play. And they're making it. I mean, on the other front, as we move on back to that early situation that X Generations player was caught in against Wasi, it is this time around, actually, if you remember yesterday, I mean, it was Freestyles players who were again and again getting those first blood situations against them. This time around, it is going to be them and Wasi who will be able to retaliate against that early onslaught that was brought onto him as well yesterday. But with that, only that one first blood situation that we saw, and that run over from the side of Wasi. But apart from that, everything else, all the other teams, in fact, are going to be looking pretty comfortable for now. Nothing to worry about, and nothing to sweat about. But again, which side is the zone going to be dictating these teams? That is going to be the most critical question to raise. Is it going to be going all the way up north? That's what I would love to actually see. It goes all the way up towards shooting range. That would be incredible. As all of these teams, I mean, look at Meteor Shot, look at Salt 8, the way these teams are going to be making that rotation, it is going to get a lot more chaotic, but that is only if the zone moves further north. But as of now, once again, all the teams are looking very, very comfortable. No contestations whatsoever, cannot even anticipate. We are, of course, going to be looking at the center of the zone where we do have Pachinki. That is Northeast Sports, and very close to the vicinity, of course, is going to be Quantum as well. But they do love to go there time and time again on the map of Wrangle, and they still are yet to take a fight against each other in that same exact position.
Yeah, this is a standard drop we've seen from FMXR3D and Rozok, the FMXR3D and the school Rozok drop, really. But I think X Generation already losing that early member 420 boy going down, it's going to affect their chances coming into this match to a large extent. Now, the rest of them were able to get back into this circle. We'll have to see how they're able to hold their position. And again, for Regicide, it could have meant a wealth of trouble, right? Because around that Farm Milita area, we want to see X-Generation contest Regicide. That didn't happen, but a lot more other teams decided to come into play. We had Salt I-8, Meteorshot X-Sky, Freestyle, all around that area, but nothing actually came into play. No, the teams didn't really fight with each other, and they went their merry way. So Regicide also escaping what could have been disaster for them.
Exactly. For now, again, they were able to get out of that position. I mean, they were very close. Their information was definitely given away, but still somehow they were able to get away from that position. And look at that. Salt I-8, 420. That is the number of points that they have accumulated. 101 points extra from the team sitting on that second position. I mean, wow. How? Wow. This team should always, I think from the side of Pakistani region, this team should have their own tournament. You know, I mean, this team should not be playing in this lobby.
I
just
definitely.
not fair.
I mean, yeah, right. Salt I just have displayed that next level of dominance altogether. Continuously been a step away from their opponents, but to be fair to the rest of our lobby, they have caught up to a large extent. They've improved a ton. Again, I want to sing the praises of TUF because they've been so damn consistent in their ability to just level up match after match, improve every single game and carry that momentum forward. And it's a team I'm excited to see going into the grand finals. And similarly too is Squirty. Heard a lot about them. You guys always say they are one of the biggest teams coming into PMPL, and they've displayed that factor for sure with the consistency, but they haven't given us that extra oomph. You know, we haven't seen them really blow up. I want to see if that can even happen.
That is true. That oomph factor that you're talking about. Actually, we have, I mean, we've seen glimpses of that from so many individual teams. From the side of 52 Exchange, from the side of X-Generation. Definitely Salt I-8 have been, consistently doing that again and again. Same as the case for H2E. So many teams, dude. Magnus, all of them pretty much is what I would say. In the first week, we had Clarity and FS as well. What team? Meteorshot, all of them have showcased that sort of a prowess, but it's just not been, just that. Apart from Salt I-8 and TUF perhaps, all the other teams, they've had their moments throughout the 3 weeks, right? The week number 2 was all H2E just jumping into the arena. Week number 1 was Clarity, FS. Salt I-8 definitely was not part of that conversation though in week number 1. So yeah, every week we've had a different storyline to work towards.
Most definitely, and I think in that regard, that really shows us that simple fact we're talking about, where the league has continuously had a lot of volatility, a lot of competition between each other, and teams have really looked amazing altogether. We're talking about needing to look amazing. TMW currently under threat from Clarity, another consistent stalwart. Didn't have the greatest of starts from Super Weekend 1, but since then they've only been on an upward streak, gradually building up and looking damn strong while they're at it. So TMW right now under a little bit of threat, but conditions do favor them. They've got the compound in their control, while Clarity are in that open ground. And Clarity, not surprised at all, make the smart move. They're like, doesn't matter which team's in front of us. We don't want to take the fight. We want to just focus on our rotations, and we'll take that fight later.
Exactly, absolutely. And well, again, for the side of Clarity, that is a wonderful turn of events, because they are still going to be able to move away from that position, and still, again, because it is still early, right? It's only 8.5 minutes, so thus implying that they will still be able to get away from the position and find themselves a decent compound where there will not be any contestations. And with that, as we move on through to the map itself, we do see from the side of Fairy Pier the grounders, and from the Nova Rupnoy, we do have Meteorshot as well chiming in along as they take the brunt of the blues. And then there's another team. Okay. Well. So, once again, it is the final weekend right here. And these teams, I mean, Grounders, Meteorshot, they are still sticking to those late rotations. And yet again, there is no team that is wanting to give them that blow. But it is not esports right now. Just all by himself, Avenger OP trying to take on 3 players all by himself. That was just phenomenal. But of course, it was a 3v1 situation where Regicide got the better half of that fight. And in doing so, they've been able to get that damage, but also get the elimination point. And of course, they've not lost any of their players. None of them have been knocked. So they're just quickly going to patch things up and perhaps get out of here. Or maybe try and even push on against the players and position of North Esports if NES decides to retaliate, which I don't think they should, but again, I mean, it's their game. They might get retaliatory feelings. I've seen them do that yesterday unnecessarily, but yeah, let's see what is going to be their storyline.
Have to say, right side right now, they have successfully managed to put Not Esports back. They're going to send them running with their tail between their legs and take that as a win. An easy point picked up for them as they continuously look to push forward in the rest of this lobby. Now, in terms of positions, Redicide is in a comfortable spot just south of the Naya area, effectively guarding the bridge almost through this compound, which is, I think, really going to come into play. It's that bridge at the center of the circle, so if the circle especially takes a Yasnaya shift, that bridge is going to be crucial for all of the teams trying to rotate in from Stalber or Severny and really give a lot of room to Redicide to make them pay. But talking about making them pay, Not Esports spot out God Fury. Not able to instantly knock him out though, just some damage dealt. But this is when we're going to get all of those teams on those late rotations. Grounders, Salt I8, Meteor Shot, X-Sky all coming into the circle, starting to occupy those Rozok school areas and starting to pressure teams like Regicide and North Esports who have tiny compounds towards the center.
Well, this time around we have the side of Salt I8 also jumping in a very, very late rotation from their side. And now, when it comes to the zone itself, we do have Team TUF taking on the fight against the players of Magnus. But Mom2, once again, the dude from the side of Magnus, Mom2, he has been so on point in respect. Yeesh, that was close, but of course he's going to be able to get away from that position. The tree trunk definitely helping him out, but his teammate not so lucky. Cairo will easily be able to just run him along, and Joker is down. Of course, we did see Mom2 was down. TUF not looking good because two of their players were blocked, and now it is Cairo confirming that elimination point for his side. So now, for the side of TUF, this is not the kind of play that they, of course, anticipated right here out in the open, but what can they do? I mean, Magnus, the way they pushed in along, that was such a synergistic play and so very on point in terms of the way that they had those different angles set up for themselves against Team TUF. TUF had no chance to retaliate, and yep, this is a really good decision from their side. Get away and cover up your losses and yeah, move on along for a better fight in a different part of the zone.
Currently TUF though, they know that the pressure is there from Magnus from one side, but I feel like they've almost anticipated that TMW is somewhere nearby, or at least some other team is somewhere nearby. Right now though, it does seem to be the case where, in general, I think for all of these teams, this has become the case. Super Weekend 1 was a little different, but 2 and 3, you saw a lot more of this, saw a simpler approach to the map where every single one of them almost had a gentleman's agreement, focusing on those rotations and not overcommitting to fights necessarily. And now with this centralized shift coming through for the circle, we're seeing all of these teams towards Yasnaya, towards that bridge, trying to move their way up, and that's where FMX R3D, 52X Rage already on that high ground. They can make them pay.
Oh, they will. Oh, they definitely will. I mean, this game, in fact, the teams, all the teams that are part of this lobby, they are definitely playing it very, very gracefully is what I would say. I mean, that's the only word I can think of right now, because they have been so calculative in terms of the approach, in terms of the rotations that they're making. We've got 16 teams still surviving. We're in the third zone, and in just another 10 seconds, it's going to be constricting down to fourth. And now it is TMW taking on the shots, and look at that, it is Harry. And of course, he is the man leading the charge, but of course, being out in the front is definitely going to be putting you into the crosshairs of your opponents, and it is going to be Teen Wolves perfectly set up nade against Harry, which will dominate. And in doing so, Harry has bit his own toe right now because he pushed out a bit too much. And of course, if he wants that revival for his teammate, it is going to be a tricky fight because, well, his teammate is also going to have to jump into the crosshairs of the opponent team, and the opponent team is 420 boys, and of course, Clarity will not like to let that go. But it seems like Bashir from X Generation will be bringing in a different flow to Salt I8 as they are getting their numbers down, but in the end, Salt I8 will be the better half in that fight, and geez, one fight to the next. Now, fourth zone, it is looking a lot of chaos from these teams.
Yeah, exactly. All of these teams right now really starting to turn up the heat as they contest each other. X Generation getting eliminated quite early. Certainly not looking good for their chances. Not looking good with respect to that strong start we talked about. And one of their competition might follow soon enough, because TMW right now in the open contesting against one of our top rising teams in TUF. But TMW, they've got that slight man advantage. They're in a 3v2. And TUF, they're contesting fights on multiple fronts, not just against TMW, but also against the likes of Team Grounders and TMW. They look to take it as a chance to move in aggressively. They know two players are knocked. Khan going in for the killing blow, but he's not able to find the final member just yet. But Edgar comes in on the flank. He's able to down one, but El Fatiha with the prone coming in huge, gets the trait, and just like that, Blotter TMW with a huge elimination, taking out TUF.
Absolutely, and again with that we move on to another fight where it is going to be the side of Magnus who have jumped on to the position of the Grounders, where indeed in trying to take on the compound, it is going to be the Grounders who are at the receiving end, because my apologies, Magnus that is on the receiving end, because the Grounders, they were very well equipped and prepped for that open push and rush that was showcased from Magnus, and that is not going to be allowed. I mean, you do that once, all right, you do that twice on another team altogether, you are bound to get a little bit of a damage, and that's exactly what happened. But it wasn't a small little damage, because the entirety of Magnus has been eliminated thanks to the Grounders approach, and in doing so, the Grounders, I mean, they still have 3 of their players surviving, if I'm not mistaken. So a GG approach being showcased, but sad luck for Magnus.
Indeed, not the greatest of looks right there for Magnus, but thankfully for them, they are more or less qualified. I think they'll just be like, eh. I think it will affect their morale and momentum though, and I think that's where similarly Meaty Shot X Sky will want to have a strong performance coming into this particular matchup. Now Freestyle and QWERTY engaged in a fight, and they've got Quantum Rage around them as well. QWERTY need to make the smart decision to either move in now or back right off, because that might turn into a massacre real quick if Quantum Rage notice the opportunity to third party, and it seems like they have. They're quick on the rotations, trying to come through before QWERTY get a chance to wipe out Freestyle.
Well, this is not the kind of approach we wanted to see from the side of Freestyle. In doing so, they just left the one man. Okay, never mind that one man, because that dude is also going to get eliminated, and in that conversation, it is going to be the side of QR jumping in and taking on some blows as well. And of course, with that, we're left with 12 teams. 17 minutes into this game, things are getting crazier and crazier, because now we have 52x Rage, as we see in the kill feed, taking on shots against the side of FMX. And that's not only it, because Salta8 are still part of the fight. So is the case for the side of Clarity, as they also take on some blows to the Grounders face. A lot of third-party situations, a lot of fights that are being created right here.
A lot of third-party situations indeed, and currently Salta8 trying to get themselves out of one, because they're currently sandwiched between TMW, Grounders and Clarity, and Clarity is the one who's got the best deal, because they've got the high ground, they've got the spot in the circle, and they've got the opportunity to shut all of these teams down. But you know Salta8, they're not going to go down with a fight, without a fight, trying to be aggressive still. Even though it's just one last member left standing, and TMW, they capitalize on that with a beautiful nade coming through, eliminate Salta8 altogether. Think about that, man. TMW right now, they've got rid of our #1 and #2 ranked team in one lobby. If there was ever a chance to get the chicken dinner, it has to be now. They're looking good.
They definitely are. I mean, this is a definitely synergistic bunch of players right here from the side of TMW. A 3-man squad is what they're left with, but they are still not yet deterred. Of course, we did see Clarity's Teen Wolf take on their star player, I would say, Harry, from the side of course, TMW, but it has still not deterred them, as the 3-man are still pushing on along. 11 teams are remaining right here with 36 players alive. Clarity are also in control of the fights and contestations that they've been taken and been a part of, where they have been able to accumulate 5 elimination points for their side. But Team Corey, will this be their opportunity to maybe make a chicken dinner conversation, or it is going to be a different team altogether? Again, it's too early to predict, because we still do have 10 teams surviving, and in all of that, Clarity's drawn in, pushing on to the warehouse, to the small little shack, rather than warehouse of the players of Star, and this is going to be the end. Oh, wow! Okay. Osama coming in along, and what a perfect turn of retaliatory push that was from Osama, and in doing so, he is still going to be able to maintain and sustain his life. Okay, not for long, though.
He did it.
The end.
He did it for long enough for another team to come into play. North Esports, Maxi downing Zibian will finish him off, and suddenly Clarity left stranded in their push. They wanted to make it happen quick so they could pick up that compound and then focus in the rotation into the circle, but instead they've been caught by North. Potentially they can't even get their backup with 420 Boy currently engaged in the fight with TMW. But amidst all this, when we shift our focus to the other side of the map, on the eastern side, you got QWERTY making a quick dash to the circle, escaping the clutches of Quantum Rage and leaving them to contest with Meteor Sky for a chance to even try to get into the circle.
Dude, look at North Esports. Once again, they're trying the exact same strategy that I saw them do yesterday, and that worked out brilliantly for them. But now they do have to be careful, because yesterday also they were kind of caught in a tricky situation just like this, where right next to them, they had a very aggressive team. Yesterday, I'm forgetting what team it was, but right now, they've got clarity, and this is going to be, again, a do-and-die situation for the side of North Esports, but that's not the only team right here in the lobby, of course. As we can see, we've got the side of QWERTY also chiming in along with the three-man army that is playing right here. Wolverine from their side, from their numbers, has been dwindled down, but the 3 elimination points are giving them the kind of boost along with this warehouse cover that is required. But now, against Meteor Shot, is Team QWERTY ready and prepped to take this onslaught all by their lonesome? Khan with the UMP taking on 2 players all by himself, but interestingly enough, it is going to be Mera and Katir who will move away from that position, will not be able to give that angle to allow the side of Team QWERTY to be able to take those shots. And again, I mean, we can see all of them with their raised hands trying to get as many nade parades going against each other, and on the other side of the game altogether, Clarity 420 still bringing in some damage. But as soon as he does, 52x Rage get the better half of that as well. Third parties through and through.
It's a hot situation here as Katir, he's caught in the middle of nowhere. Gravity tries to lob a util to try and take him out, but he instead just reveals himself for enough time for Halsey to come on out, find the knock, and with that knock, Halsey gonna try to move forward, help his teammate out, while Katir gets the revive through on Mary. Nakhan should be able to get Gravity back on his feet, so QWERTY all online, but really again, in the action is Quantum Rage trying to take down North Esports, and they've done so successfully. Got themselves a spot in the circle, and now in pressure, in a situation to try and pressure QWERTY, who are again trying to make that quick dash in, but they take a ton of damage, Blotter.
Well, again, I mean, in all of this, when it comes to the numbers advantage, we do have 52x Rage looking really dominating and convincing in terms of the way that they're pushing on along. Alongside, of course, is the synergistic play being showcased from the side of Team Quantum Rage as well. But look at TMW's one final player who's going to be finding himself in the comfort of that zone. And again, like I said, just to repeat, he is all by his lonesome. He's the one final player surviving for the side of TMW. So all he can do is just stay as quiet as he possibly can, get into cover on the other front, let these teams take on these fights, because as you look onto the mini map, you can clearly see that these teams are still out in the open. They are not in the comfort of the zone. And as I bring that conversation in favor of TMW, it is going to be Marlega OP who will be eliminated and will not be allowed to sustain or remain in that zone thanks to FMX R3D. I think, right? FMX got the kill.
Yeah. FMX R3D trying to deny the entrance for, at this point, not just QWERTY, but also Quantum Rage, potentially even Meteor Sky into the circle. But they've got to be careful. They've only got 2 players with them. 2 players already finished earlier. It's up to Picard and Shaw to try and find maximum value from this particular matchup, and they most definitely will. Alpha has been knocked, Sparky as well. Alpha will meet his maker as Quantum Rage. They are crumbling apart, unable to make it to the circle, with the pressure coming in from the gatekeepers in FMX R3D, and the team rotating side by side with them in QWERTY. And that similar situation towards the northern side as well. Blotter as Meteor Sky try to hold down their spot in the circle, denying the opportunity to Regicide to make it in, leaving Insane in a honestly insane spot.
Well, that is true. That is so very true, of course. But again, kudos to both of these teams, in fact, right? For the side of FMX R3D as well as Regicide, as both of them, even though numbers advantage is not favoring them, they have been able to take on the fights. They have been able to sustain themselves. 6 teams remaining right here. We've got one final player remaining from the side of Regicide, of course. On the front, numbers advantage still going to be favoring 52x Rage, and it is going to be Regicide's final player getting eliminated. 5 teams remain. Team QWERTY also very much in the part of this fight, very much trying to get the information, and as they do, they take on FMX R3D, where one of their players, Shaw, has been eliminated, has been brought down, and Pika will not be able to survive for long. And what an entry made from the side of Destroyer, as he gets both of those kills, but gets third-partied by itself by his opponent. That's going to be 52x rage. So a really chaotic circle is what this has turned out to.
Chaotic indeed. Quantum Rage is now out of the lobby as Qwerty left in a impossible situation. But to be honest, they've gone from impossible situation to impossible situation, just helping each other, maneuvering their way out of it. And again, strong as that three-man unit trying to move forward. Take a few pot shots at Meteorshot X-Sky and it's promptly returned by them. But amongst this, all the circle taking a shift towards 52x Rage,
Exactly.
who are downhill though. And that's why they have to be careful. They're in open area. They don't necessarily have the peeking advantage, so they're going to have to be careful about when they peek out.
But you know the best thing about 52x Rage in all of this, I have been mentioning it since the past, I think more than 2 minutes. They still have all 4 players surviving. They have the cover of those vehicles. Okay, well again they are up against Qwerty, and Gravity is the dude who's just completely spraying Daku, will not be allowing him to get out of that position. What an incredible lad this guy. Gravity from the side of course Team Qwerty. This is the man who Fixes has spoken about again and again and again from the side of Qwerty. A dude to look out for, and this is the reason why. But yeah, the advantage that I was just about to bring up for the side of 52x Rage seems to be dwindling a little bit because the 3-man army from the side of Qwerty is yet not done in this game.
Qwerty currently playing it extremely smart. Have to see if they can translate it into a winner-winner chicken dinner somehow, because Meteorshot X-Sky, they're looking to contest, but Qwerty Gravity yet again finds a beautiful knock onto 52x Rage, and with Meteorshot X-Sky pressuring them from this flank too. This is what I was talking about, the downhill disadvantage. Even though the circle is in their favor now, Meteorshot X-Sky, they change their focus. They look towards the side of Qwerty, trying to punish them, but yet no team taking the fall just yet. Zen is still knocked. Will try to get revived right here, but look at Khan's position, man. He's got an immense flank.
Well, this is turning into a bloodbath basically, where people get shot, they get down, and then their teammates get that revival confirmed. But it seems like this time around, Gravity not looking at a... yeah, he's definitely not going to be able to sustain that sort of damage, and in doing so, 52x Rage definitely standing up to the occasion with the numbers working for their side. But Zen once again is down with the 2 players, Pain and Pharaoh. 52x Rage jumping in along to take this opportunity and steal it away from the side of Meteorshot Sky, where Halsey is the dude who's trying his level best to maintain that cover, but again his health is not going to be favoring. Alright, he does get that wonderful first aid setup for himself, but he's just all by his lonesome against this 3-man squad of 52x Rage. So this is what 52x Rage were waiting for, and again, I mean, taking that backseat approach, that backbencher approach, actually helped them out quite a lot, where Team Qwerty actually decided to take a lot of these fights, and had they not done so, yeah, 52x Rage, they were, as you so perfectly mentioned, were down below that mountain, right? They had, and the entire crosshairs could have been set up against them. But right now, it is Halsey who seems to be blowing up the case for 52x Rage.
In this 1v2 now, Halsey, despite all of that multi-pronged attack from 52x Rage, they managed to hold on. But this 1v2
Zen is down.
The mortar strike coming out with the nades from Halsey has turned into a 1v1. Now Pain, he's going to try to get to Zen and find the revive actually. A very interesting start here, but another nade will make sure that Zen goes down the drain. And just like that, Pain, he's left on his lonesome. The nades are raining through Halsey. He's not even going to need to pull out his gun to find this win.
Come on. Not like this, not like this. I mean, seriously, Pain, we've seen some incredible plays from you, mate. Do something ridiculous like you did on that beach in the first week. This is not looking good for him. Then again, in just the nick of time, he will be able to get that first aid set up. But now it is all down to the skill, and it's Meteorshot.
Yeah, Halsey. Yep.
Meteorshot Halsey, he was in a rhythm of his own. But again, I cannot believe one after the other. You so perfectly pointed this out. It was a bloody mortar setup for the players, and the players of... wow, this is unbelievable. 52x Rage just stood there. One after the other. We saw Zen get down on his knees so many times in this final battle. Yeah, it seems like the synergy was not set up for them.
And most certainly was not plotted. It was an absolute individual outplay, I'd say, from Halsey. Just perfect. It's again. Again, man. Just again highlighting a key disadvantage with being downhill, right? It's easier to get the nades into those ridges that the players downhill are using for covers as compared to going from down to up. And even though 52x Rage, they played it brilliantly despite being downhill. They held on two fronts. They got that top 2 finish. Halsey clearly utilizing that small tactical edge he had for himself to perfection, getting that winner chicken dinner for his team, and it's going to be one they are so proud of because it's an easy ka-ching, $500 in the bag.
Exactly, and you know what? Now I will never bring that conversation up for the side of Meteor Sky that they just wait for those blue zones and then they jump in to get that easy chicken dinner, because that wasn't easy. That was a 1v3 situation, but he played it to perfection. With that, we're going to go on a short little break, after which, of course, we shall continue our conversation.
Go! It's your chance
to reach the biggest. Let the action begin.
Eliminations for them puts them on equal points with the chicken dinner winners in Meteor Shot X Sky. Again, though, QWERTY getting that top 3 finish for themselves. Consistency is key. No chicken dinners yet, but good enough for them, most certainly. Now, what I do see besides that for that bottom of the table fight we're talking about, Regicide and R3D with good performances. TMW not so bad, but X Generation with just 1 point. North Esports with just 2, putting themselves at risk. So I'm sure TMW will be feeling slightly optimistic. They had a great start. They eliminated Team TUF again. So clearly the mechanical capability is there. Now they just got to build on this.
They definitely do, and they are playing it safe as well. We saw that in the initial few moments of the game as well. As the teams were making those rotations, TMW decided to not take on the fights, not give away the information as well, which was a very critical moment right there in that first game for them. And with that, let's of course recap through the open moments right now. As we started things off, it was of course Wasi getting that first blood situation against the player of X Generation, where 420 Boy was not allowed to even stand on his 2 feet as soon as he jumped into the battleground.
It did become the case where I really did feel like a lot of the teams felt a lot more unlocked today. They were playing with a lot more freedom, and I like that because it shows us the best of the players. But right here, Team Grounders dealt some early damage to TUF, and then eventually TMW came to capitalize. But this is what I mean, like, of course, we're not going to get to see the action in Circle 1 or Circle 2, but when it comes to Circle 3, Circle 4, when the rotations are happening, teams don't hesitate to try and punish teams who are caught out in that open area.
Exactly, and this is where we did see the side of FS try to take on the position from the side of QWERTY, but were not allowed. On the other front, for the side of Teen Wolf, Clarity's player was absolutely penciling down whatever that he could find. In the end, though, he was only able to walk away with 2 elimination points, but overall, the damage that he was able to dish out was quite a lot. And then we move on into those final moments of the game, where we did have all of these teams taking on some crazy fights. I mean, FMX, R3D, as well as Regicide, both of these teams played it to perfection, trying to utilize the advantage of the zone, their position, and their numbers, and the fights that they decided to be a part of. All of that was so perfectly laid down for them. But this is where we moved on down to those final moments. And the final moments, I am still scratching my head over, because I mean, come on, Meteor Sky is healthy. He was so easily able to pencil down all of these players of 52x Rage. Just GG approach from him.
Most certainly. Played beautifully by him in that regard, and Halsey just pulling off that 1v3 phenomenally, getting that win for his team, and a crucial one at that, because again, every $500 it makes you feel that much more stronger going into the grand finals.
Well, again, I mean, when it comes down to the $500 itself, right, they are just setting, or rather these teams, they have already made that pact, right? Whichever team is getting those chicken dinners is actually getting not only 1 or 2, they're getting quite a lot many, because they want to be able to get that wonderful F21 Pro for their team, and they are just rooting. And well, again, I mean, they're definitely working towards it pretty neatly. Regicide actually have been able to get 1 chicken dinner, the only 1 chicken dinner that they've been able to attain, but hopefully with the remaining matches and the kind of play style that they are showcasing right here, I do look forward to what FMX and R3D are going to be bringing in the 4 games that remain today.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting affair to see how teams respond to either a strong start, the way we saw from TMW Regicide, or a weak start, the way we saw from the likes of X Generation, really. How they are able to respond to this will decide basically our teams for the grand finals. But in that regard, TUF getting eliminated first out, get a witness of exactly how cutthroat that top battle is. QWERTY and Meteor X Sky each are taking one spot over them as TUF dropped from second all the way to fourth. But honestly, is that chicken dinner prize number I've got my eye on. Meteor X Sky now the highest number of chicken dinners across PMPL.
Oh, yes, that is true. And again, the journey continues on. We've got 4 games remaining for today and then 5 games more tomorrow. So again, there is still that opportunity for Meteor to be able to raise those numbers up and maybe even reach the 10 or 2-digit marker in those chicken dinner. But as we move on through to the second page, now this is where we do have teams that are kind of sustaining themselves, that are still sticking at the same exact positions, because this is critical. You look at those total points, there's still a little bit of difference between all of them, right? I mean, let's start off from the 12th position where we do have Freestyle. They've got 2 chicken dinners, 204 points. But then more than 20 points shy is going to be FMX R3D, or rather 20 plus points actually. Difference between them and the 13th position. And then from there, move on down 11